Hello and welcome. I am so glad you are here for this next episode of Joyful Business TV. I have somebody really amazing to introduce you to. But first, let me just tell you, this is Laura West. I'm the host of Joyful Business TV, and I'm the CEO and a business success coach for the Center for Joyful Business. So for over 20 years, I have been working with all types of conscious entrepreneurs, change makers, consultants, coaches, people who are really passionate about their work. They really consider their work to be soul work. And they want to do this work that makes a difference while making great money, right? So they want to change the world and they want to be able to change their world with the abundance and the money that they create in their own life. So this is how Joyful Business was birthed, with this idea that you can find your authentic marketing style. You can really line up with your gifts and use those gifts to be able to share to the people who are the right people for you in your soul tribe. And I'm really excited to bring you a new friend today. She's like a friend of a friend who's been introduced to me, and I just knew she was somebody that I needed to bring to you to be able to hear. Her name is Dr. Vikki Matthews, and Dr. Matthews is a naturopath physician and a relationship coach, which I think is fascinating. Can't wait to unfold this story more. She's also been a guest on Oprah twice, for those of you who have that on your vision. She's a relationship coach for Fox Business, and she's been featured in radio, podcasts, prints, and of course, Joyful Business TV. She's
Yay.
also the author of an award-winning book called The 5 Elements of Relationships. How to get along, I love this, how to get along with anyone, anytime, any place. This is so great. This is so great. I'm so glad to have you here, Vicki.
It's wonderful to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'd love for you to tell me a little bit about kind of like, what is this 5 elements of relationships? And then we can talk about like, why does this matter to entrepreneurs?
Okay, well, the 5 elements of relationships is based on a millennial old model from ancient China called the 5 element model. And these wise sages way back then developed a way of looking at the world that honored phases. And one of the main phases they used was the transition of the seasons. So winter into spring, into summer, into fall, back into winter. And they ascribed elements to this. So you've basically got water, wood, fire, earth, and metal. Water is winter, wood is spring, summer is fire, and then we'll skip earth for a second, and autumn is metal, fall is metal. Earth element is a nurturing element, it's a caring element, it's a supportive element. So the solstices and the equinoxes sit in that because those are times of balance, either great imbalance or perfect balance. And what I discovered is that there are personalities associated with these elements, and I call them very creatively elemental personalities.
Right.
And they will react in certain ways, they will interact with each other in certain ways, and they really are powerful in creating our personalities.
I love this. I love this. I love anything to do with the elements. I just think it's a fascinating lens to be able to, and very
Yeah.
powerful to be
Yes.
able to look at things with.
Yes.
So the idea of these, so how is it helpful to know what because I'm assuming we all have our primary element that we
Well, actually, we all have all 5 of them in us. They're energetically wired in us. They actually stack up in our auric field. But the one closest to us is what we call the primary elemental personality. And it's kind of the lens, literally, that we look through the world. Imagine being in a house looking out a window and there are layers of tinted color. The layer closest to you is going to be the primary color you see. So the elemental personality that's closest to us is sort of how we step forward into the world, and it impacts how we relate to people, how we relate to ourselves, the kind of things we're good at, things that we may not be quite so good at, and it just kind of guides everything that we do.
I love that. So I know you mentioned when we were talking earlier that you're a wood energy. So give us an example of, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs might have some wood
Oh
energy.
yes, oh yes. Okay, so wood people are doers. I always joke when I'm teaching, if you want something done, give it to a wood. They will get it done. They are achievement matters, success matters, accomplishment. And it may not be like $1 million contract accomplishment. It could be, I taught my child how to tie his shoes accomplishment. But that kind of success, finishing a project, really matters to woods. They're good at getting things started. They look forward. They look to the future. One of the other elements, the one at the end, the metal, looks to the past. Nobody is better at analyzing what went wrong, what went right, what to take forward to the next cycle than someone with a lot of metal in their personality. But for woods, it's about, what am I doing? Woods are the ones that'll make a list, the like 20 different to-do list things, because it's like, what am I going to do in the future? What am I going to accomplish? So that's woods.
Lots of possibilities.
Most entrepreneurs are woods, or they have a lot of wood energy. They may be, it depends on what they're creating. They may have a lot of earth, which is where food, cooking, nurturing, teachers, nurses, doctors frequently have a lot of earth energy. But to succeed in something and make something happen, you're drawing on a lot of wood energy.
Right. That's what I would imagine. And then I would imagine you need that fire energy, right?
Fire is fire,
like to write the book and put it out there,
and more to talk to people about it.
Right. Okay.
Fire loves attention. Fire, the actors, actresses, people that are the first person, like, I'll go talk about it. I'll go, just the doer, the really active doer that, will do anything. That's the fiery energy. And we might as well finish the rest of them. Water is introvert, because that's the winter time. They are inward looking. They are very philosophical. Creativity, imagination. A lot of times writing books actually sits in water, because you have to dive into that pool of creativity to birth something like that. And then earth is nurturing. Really good chefs, cooks, like I said, nurses, teachers, have that caring, compassionate. Any mom is, whether she is a primary earth personality or not, leads with her earth around her children. And then metal is the end of the cycle. They look back and say, this is what worked, this is what didn't. We're passing on what worked to the next cycle, and we are not touching that other stuff. And detail is also really important for metals. They do well as lawyers, accountants, people where minutia matters.
Right. People who are running our back-end systems for the
Yes.
online.
Oh my gosh,
Really
yes.
important, right? Yeah, I love that. So so it's, to me, it sounds very interesting. Like, I love, again, looking through the lens of the 5 elements. I'm imagining that we can draw on, because you said they're all in our auric field, people around us, that we might need to draw on certain energies when we, like you're talking about, you just wrote a book. You might need to be some water energy, then you've got the wood energy to actually get it done.
And I am wearing a fire color today, red, to try and be outgoing and engaging, which fires do naturally. So again, we have
my orange on too.
Yeah, you go, girl. But it is, once we know that and understand what our primary personality is and what the strengths of each of them are, we can purposely draw on something that we may not come up with very often when we know we're going to need it. And we can do that certainly by wearing colors. We can, if we know we're going to get ready to write a book or something, painting a room blue that you're going to work in would really help, because that builds that water energy of creativity. Their teas, my book covers all different kinds of things that help balance the different elemental personalities and bring them up.
I know. I like to bring stones in for different.
Oh yeah, yep, absolutely. There's certain stones that are known to help balance each of the different elemental personalities.
Oh, I love that. So that is like fascinating in and of itself, right? Just like how we can use that on ourselves. But what I know is that as an entrepreneur, you've got clients, you've got to hire people. Like, you're always in relationship, whether you've got clients that you're working with, potential clients, or people that you're serving, or you're looking to hire. So how would knowing more about the 5 elements help with that?
Well, each element, as we were just saying, each elemental personality has things that they're particularly good at and things that they're maybe not quite so good at. So if you are hiring an accountant or someone that you need to manage detail, it would be good to make sure you hired someone that had a lot of metal energy in their personality, either primary or secondary, as they're stacked up. If you're hiring a cook for an event, you probably want to make sure they have a lot of earth, because food and cooking and that kind of thing sits in the earth. A babysitter, you want someone that's earthy, that has that energy of caring and wanting to nurture with people and children. If you want someone to present, you want someone that has fire, but not all fire, because fires can get scattered when they get nervous. So you want somebody a wood fire would probably be a good choice or a metal fire, someone that's got structure. And if you think about structure in itself, metals and woods are the most structured, and structure leads to control. And they're the two elemental personalities that have a deep relationship with control, but it's different. Metals,
I hate with control sometimes.
right. Metals want to be in control, and woods want to avoid being out of control.
Oh,
So
fascinating.
it's
Yeah.
and how they approach that, of course, is going to be very, very different.
Hmm.
So those are just some things. What are you looking for in a person? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. If you make a list of the characteristics that you require, not just the skill sets, but I need someone that will take care of me too, or may keep all my plants watered. That's going to be an earth. I need someone that is comfortable going out doing these business presentations. That'll probably be a wood with some fire in there. So it's knowing how the personalities, what their strengths and not so strong points are, can make a huge difference in the correctness of your hiring.
Hmm. Yes, I think so often we like to hire people that we like, people
Yeah.
that say the right things or we get
Mm-hmm.
along really
Mm-hmm.
well. And I know I've seen that a lot where people get along really, really well and they're like, oh, we need to talk. Maybe we need to collaborate. And it's like, yeah, do you really? You know,
Exactly.
maybe
Exactly.
too similar and you might need somebody who complements you. And so,
Yes. And expectations are huge. I mean, if you have a very clear idea of what you're expecting from someone you're hiring, it's only fair to make sure that is something they can deliver on.
mhm. Yeah, yeah. Very much so. Yeah, that makes sense. And that's how it'll be successful for not just for you, but it'll be successful there for them and for the both of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Um, so I'm curious, I don't know if we talked about this. So do you have an assessment, like, or how do people figure
Yes, I
out
do.
what they are? I
I
was thinking about
have
it. We
the
need to
book
talk about
itself has a quiz,
it. Hmm.
and there's also a quiz on my website. People can go to drvickymatthews.com, and there is an actual quiz that they can download, print out, and take and score themselves. And what will happen is it will show all 5 of the elemental personalities because we all do have all 5,
Hmm.
but one will be a top scorer. And that'll be your primary. The next top will be your secondary. And the secondary really colors how the primary expresses. I'm a wood, but my secondary is earth. And that's been very important being a doctor, is to be able to sit into compassion sits in earth. Caring
Hmm.
and compassion sits in earth. And there may be times that my wood wanted to say, well, for God's sake, get over it. But my earth wisely stepped in and said, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Let's see if we can work with that. So it's a great little quiz.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I was assuming that you had a quiz because that
Yes.
would make a lot of sense. And
Yes.
uh, yeah, gosh, there's so many things I'd love to talk about with that because I just think that's so powerful to be able to understand. And, that could be something that you have when you really identify what skills people are that when you're hiring somebody, you could have them go
Mhm.
take your quiz, right? And then that way that would give you a
It
little
is.
more
And
insight.
I'll tell you, it is really, you stop judging people for what you think is a shortfall if you understand that it's really one of their strengths. It may not
Mhm.
appeal to you, but they're wired to be good at that. They're wired to be strong in that. And so then it's incumbent on you really to build to their strengths, use their strengths. Don't expect them to be something they're not, or good at something, and I'm talking about more in the detail of job performance. But
Right,
it,
right.
it's so important to build to someone's strengths.
Yes. So, you're making me think that, we were talking earlier, we want to talk to entrepreneurs, but the fact of the matter is, like, we all have like partners and husbands and
Yes,
family and things like that, right? And
yes.
that the quality of those relationships can support our businesses or they
Mm-hmm.
can be distracting or take
Mm-hmm.
away and things like that. So, I would
It's
imagine
huge.
that, bringing that into the family or with a partner would really be,
Oh,
um,
it saved my marriage. Understanding this absolutely saved my marriage. I mean, my relationship with my husband is on what's called the controlling cycle, and it really can feel controlling. I mean, metal chops wood. So
mhm.
that doesn't feel good.
When
But
I've heard you say that a couple times, and I'm like, okay, we doing rock, paper, scissors?
no,
Let's
no, we're doing the
go.
fact that in nature, metal chops wood.
Hmm.
But Woods being so outgoing and so, let's do that. I mean, I remember one time early in our marriage, I got up on the day after Christmas and said, okay, let's knock this wall out. We've been talking about remodel. And my husband, Mark, looked at me and said, the Christmas tree is up. The decorations are up. We are not knocking the wall out. So that was his metal, rational, logical stepping in
Right.
and wisely stopping me from doing something that could have been a total disaster.
Right.
So it's always a gift, but you have to understand it. And I, over the years, I've learned to understand he's going to drive the speed limit in the Mojave Desert. He's going to follow the recipe to the T and not throw in extra stuff. He's going to be, I mean, and fortunately, he works in a field where that is valued very highly. So he's a
Right.
happy camper. But if there's times that there's roughness between us, I remind myself that he is not an anal retentive jerk. He is a metal. He is wired to be
I can
precise.
see where that would save your marriage.
Exact. Yes, it does all the time, all the time. I mean, it's really, and for him, he understands. Of course, she's going to want to knock the wall down because she's a go make it happen person.
Right.
So we've learned over the years to, like, if there's something that requires detail, I am not the person to ask. It goes to him, and he does a great job with the detail. If it's making something happen that neither of us are excited about doing, it comes to me because I can make things happen.
Right, right. I love that. I mean, it sounds like simple in some ways, but I can see that it's like layered with depth and you can really put some intention on it.
And
But
I just want to say it's in parenting, it's huge. In the book, there's a couple cases, and two of which are my favorites. I had a dad come in one time, and he'd been a sports star, and his kid did not want to play football, his son. And he's like, I'm raising a wimp. I mean, why is this kid not going to play football with me? And because it was a water. His son was a water. He wanted a camera. He wanted to be creative. And once his dad really got that he wasn't being dismissed in terms of the sports star thing, but his kid just wasn't into it. It made a huge difference in their relationship. And that kid is actually a professional photographer now.
oh wow, wow, yeah,
So that kind of, just the understanding, to get the light bulbs to go on, that we so often assume things because based on our experience, and sometimes those save our lives. So I'm not knocking assumptions, but understanding is really what I think matters, is to understand.
yeah. To understand, to accept, and to you're really pointing to that we don't always want to surround ourselves with people exactly like us. We
Oh my
need
God, it would be
to,
a disaster.
yeah,
Especially two woods, we'd fight the whole time.
right. No, no, let's do it my way. No, we're going to do this. And too many
But
ideas,
that's
and too many
an important
contradictions.
important piece to recognize. I can usually tell a wood when I'm working with them just because we'll both be coming up with ideas that may or may not match. And one of the things that I really wanted to make sure I put in the book was, okay, if it is two woods trying to work together, here are ways to make it easier. Here are
Mm,
ways to value what you both do. And maybe some of it's putting some structure in place, or stepping back and saying, okay, I'm feeling this way, and talking things out. But every relation, that's why you can get along with anyone, anytime, any place, if you understand what's going on and you work
right,
to
right.
honor that.
Well, it'd be really helpful with collaborations because I know when I collaborate, I'm really discerning about who I collaborate with. And so collaborating with someone who I know we can have a conscious conversation
Hmm.
about that because otherwise, yeah, we're stepping on each other's toes and somebody
Right.
doesn't feel like they're being heard or being valued and all of that. And so being able to have a conscious conversation about who's going to provide what and knowing what the expectations are, that can
Yeah.
make it into brilliance or not. Yeah.
Right. And that's all about getting along.
Hmm.
I've always said understanding is what it takes to get along.
Right, right. So I'm a little bit curious about, or a lot curious about, so you're this naturopath physician,
Hmm.
and then now you became a relationship coach. And, I can see where you brought the five elements, I imagine, through the
Hmm.
naturopath. But I'm
Right.
curious about your leap, because I'm always talking about how our work, even our soul work, where it's a calling, it always evolves, right? It's
Hmm.
always evolving to the next place. So I'm curious about your evolution.
Well, it was a lot of what my husband calls woo woo. As a
Yeah, you're in the right
naturopath,
place. This is a good
yes.
community for that
As a
conversation.
naturopath, of course, I've already one step away from traditional medicine, but it was definitely what appealed to me. I
Mhm.
also have studied a lot of energy work, a lot of energy medicine, and I actually ran a energy medicine certification program for someone for 10 years.
Uh-huh.
So I had that whole, it's okay if we don't see it, it's energy, it's all energy anyway type of thing.
First, right?
So to take that another step and start using that model, which that's what acupuncture is based on, is the five element model.
Mm,
Each of them, they're meridians that govern different organs, and you're using those meridians in acupuncture. So it just wasn't a big step to
right.
go, okay, we know how they interact in the five element model from a medical perspective. Why not in personalities?
Mm-hmm.
And it worked. And then, of course, I was blessed with a very active practice that was basically my laboratory. I
Yeah.
could I could ask people and talk to people and suggest they try this and then let me know did it work and that kind of stuff.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Um, because I think so often we think we have the thing, our one
Hmm.
thing,
Hmm.
but really, usually our thing evolves. And so that's really important to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Good, good. Well, part of what we like to talk about in having a joyful business is because it is about energy, right? And that your
Right.
energy is so important to have it aligned and have it flowing and kind of reduce the friction and to be very intentional about it. And so I'm curious about your morning routines. Maybe you have some rituals, I would imagine. Like how do you
Yes.
start your day so that you can align and free up your energy with what you're.
I have a little energy routine that I do in the morning. In fact, I actually do something for physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual.
Mm,
Physical, and sometimes it's in the evening, but once a day, I do something like a little bit of yoga or something that's helping the physical. I'm pretty conscientious about my diet. I'm actually quite conscientious about my diet for my physical.
mhm.
Emotional, I make sure I'm surrounded by people that I like, or I do some of the day I do something that I like, whether it's listen to music. Sometimes when I'm working, I'll have music playing. So just kind of involving all aspects of the senses. For the mental, my husband and I do a crossword puzzle every day together.
Oh,
And just to, keep that part sharp. We also are pretty
and you
very,
do it together, which I think
we do
is
it together,
an
yes, which
added
is
benefit, right?
also markedly good on our part, I will say. And then spiritual meditation is really big to me.
Mm, yeah, yeah, that's great. I love hearing that because I have seven energies, so I use those energies as well
Hmm.
as social and financial energies. And so we're always pulling things through and looking at, if you're depleted physically, you're not sleeping, you're not getting water, you're not, like you said,
Hmm.
eating well, it starts impacting all the other ones. And then, you
Yeah.
don't understand what's going on.
I think one of the biggest things is making sure you're not dehydrated. I mean,
Hmm.
at a physical level, that starts impacting everything really fast.
Right,
So
right.
that's another thing. We have herbal teas that we drink all day. I
Nice.
make by the gallon.
Oh, great. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that.
Yeah.
And it's doing things like that, right? That is very nurturing. You're bringing in that
Hmm.
earth energy, very nurturing, and keeping you really healthy. And I know I can really tell a difference when I've not had enough water and, it's harder to focus and
Oh, totally.
like
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it starts compromising body function.
Mm.
So it's amazing how many people don't get enough liquids. I mean, good liquids.
I'm always telling my dad's like 80 something, and I'm always like, "Did you drink water? Did you drink water today?" He's like, "What's with the water? We never drink water when I was younger."
Well, it's
We
time to
drank it out
start.
of the hose. Yeah.
Time to start now.
Yes, that's what I'm always telling them. So I love that.
Good.
That. So I'm curious. I mean, I can hear a lot of passion in what you do, and I'm curious what your thoughts are about following your passion, and how does that show up through your work, or how does that kind of direct you, or not?
You know, I've always been I've always been an idea person. I mean, that's kind of where my water meets my wood is the idea comes and the what if, the kind of what if this, what if that, and then my wood energy can help try and or at least explore trying to make it happen.
Mm,
So I would say that's that's an important part of it for me. I think believing in what you're doing. I mean, the passion of believing in what you're doing is huge to me, just absolutely huge. And trying to honor what you're doing in a way that you do it. I think that's also something and consciousness. I mean, my gosh, just being conscious with what you're doing. Don't woods by nature want to multitask. It was like, oh, look, I can do three things at once. But are you giving any of it any consciousness? Are you giving it the consciousness it deserves? So there are times as a wood I slow myself down and say, okay, let's just be really focused on this. Bring the consciousness that it deserves to it.
Mhm.
Now in my practice that was always easy. It was like the only person in the entire world was whatever patient I was working with. That in that room, and I had one room that I worked in, that was very, very easy. And I cleaned that room energetically all the time and had rocks and stones and things like that around. But in day-to-day life, I think honoring consciousness, I would say, is probably, and the
Mhm.
physical. I will also say as a naturopath, I'm big on honoring the physical. We are pretty strict about how we eat and what we eat and when we eat, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I love bringing one of the things I heard you say is like honoring your passion, bringing the consciousness and really respecting your passion
Hmm.
and not because I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, they start building their business around their passion and then they start doubting it because it
Oh
is
my
so
gosh,
different.
don't.
Not everybody.
No.
Um,
The passion is the energy flow. Passion sits in fire.
mm,
Fire, fire is just the connecting. Fire is a connecting energy. You've seen people, they go into a bar and they're the people that can talk to anybody. Just hi, and they walk out best friends type of thing. That's
right.
fire energy, and we all
Mhm.
have it. And so that is a really important piece of passion. It really is.
I love that. I love that. I love thinking about it like, how can you feed your fire, when you want to share your passion more?
Hmm. Wear
Share.
red.
Yes, right. Even doing, yeah, things like that energetically makes a
Yes,
difference, right?
yes. And the other thing, and this I'm sure isn't too woo-woo for your audience, if you express the passion out, you
Hmm.
will draw people equally as passionate to you.
Mm.
So you help. It's like your tribe finds you. You
Yes,
gather around, and then you've got help.
yes. I'm a big believer in that you attract your soul tribe. The more you nurture that passion and free your
Hmm.
voice and free your
Absolutely.
creativity, that you can't help but attract people who are
Hmm.
like-minded, like spirited, and fascinated by
Yes.
what you do. Yeah.
Well, and some of them will be with you the rest of the journey.
Mm. Mhm. Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
it's good.
So one of the things we talk about here is conscious business. That
Hmm.
it's the idea of treating people with respect, treating your ideas with respect, doing
Hmm.
marketing the way you'd want to be marketed to. Doing
Hmm.
things. I always call it soul nourishing instead of soul crushing marketing. And so I'm
Good.
curious. It sounds like you've had lots of years of growing a bit. Several businesses, and I'm curious. What are some of your favorite ways to think about marketing, conscious marketing? What feels important to you around your marketing?
Okay, so I will say first and foremost, honesty. I it's always a dance for a marketer, and I actually have an MBA in marketing. So,
Mhm.
I
You
took
get
the I
it.
took the traditional route, and there's just something about honesty being more important than results.
Mm,
So I didn't last in traditional business doing that very long, and that was when I said, like, forget it, I'm going back to med school because that's what I really want to do anyway. But any marketing that I do, any promotions that I do, any teaching that I do, I I value honesty.
mm,
I value the energy alignment that happens when we're honest, as opposed to the energy alignment that is not there, or the difficult energy alignment that's created when we're not honest.
yes. Yeah. Oh, I can so relate to that. I get a lot of feedback about that. People are like, they went off to another marketing person or a business coach and they come back and they're like, you know what, I so value your honesty and
Hmm.
integrity.
And it's
And,
important.
it's not always the sexy thing, but it's the thing that's tried and true. And it's like, it's the thing
Yeah.
that'll get you through it, right?
And another thing that I did, and it worked for me. I can't promise it'll work for everybody else, but I trust the universe. If there
Hmm.
was a person I was supposed to see, they'll find me. And I trust, I'm not going to sit in my treatment room and say, okay, universe, bring them on in. I mean, I'm going
Right.
to be out there teaching and talking to people.
But you're going
And
to follow the energy, right? That the
well,
universe
and I'm going to trust
presents
the
you.
universe. I'm going to,
Mhm.
in fact, one of my favorite woo woo stories is a woman who called me, who was referred to me, and she said, I want to set up an appointment. I'm like, okay, what's going on for you? She said, well, I'm channeling a wolf. I'm like, okay, that's out of my scope of practice. I have no experience with that, but I have somebody that I think might be able to help you. And I referred to as a colleague. And actually, that colleague was like, yeah, I can't help you, but I know who can. Referred them to the third person. That person worked with them. I don't know what they did, but they it went well, because like 5 years later I was at a Christmas party and this woman came up to me and she said, you're Dr. Vicki Matthews, aren't you? And I said, yes. She said, I called you. I'm the woman that channeled the wolf, and the people that you sent me to healed me.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that was trust. I mean, I don't even know
Yeah.
exactly what they did,
Right.
but that was an act of being honest with myself, that I don't know how to help this woman, and
Right.
I don't want to take the client to, for the money. I can't help her, but pass it on, and it worked. And she's a total normal functioning happy person now.
Oh, I
So
love
I have
that.
a lot of faith in the universe.
Yes, yeah. I do a lot with that as well and teach that a lot, because there's a balance of,
Mm-hmm.
um, putting action out in the world and you want it to be
Matters. Yeah.
inspired and aligned with what the universal flow of energy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like you said, if you fight it or you take clients that aren't right for you,
Mm-hmm.
it's just going to end up being problems down the road. Yeah.
And another thing, as far as being a physician, is knowing when you need to rest.
Mm,
That's another thing that is like, okay, I could help this person, I could help that person, and it creating the boundaries of I'm not good to anybody if I don't take care of myself.
yes.
So it's finding that balance. And really it's all comes down to balance, doesn't it? I mean, balance in everything.
Balancing. Yeah, I feel like it's
Yeah.
a constant in motion type of thing, because life
Yes.
changes so often and
Yes.
you never know what's around the corner. And so we're always having to make new balancing decisions, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, what a pleasure this has been to
This has
talk with
been
you.
great. I enjoyed this.
Me too. Me too. Can you let people know how can they find you, hear more about you, get your book?
Okay. So my website is drvickimatthews.com. It's drvickimatthews.com. My book is on there. It's also on Amazon. And if they go to getalongnow.com,
Mm.
there's a free booklet for them that they can download that talks a little bit about how to get along with other people.
Okay, great, great. And then will they find the quiz? Is that on your website
On
or
my
in the
website, if on my website, you know how there's drop down tabs across the top. One is the 5 elements, and when that tab drops down, it says take the personality quiz.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Because I bet some of our listeners are going to want to do
It's fun,
that.
and then you can, have your husband take it. You can have your son take it, your daughters, your mom. It's very short. I mean, it's like a couple pages, and it's just yes no type things.
Right, right. Yeah, I think that's a great thing, and just such a great conversation opener and connector, right? For
Yes,
being able to
yes,
understand each other in a better way. Yeah.
yes, and that understanding for me, that's the magic word. Once you
Mm,
understand the way a person is acting, why they're acting the way they're acting, that it's innate in them, it's hard to get angry at them.
right, right. Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's like we could heal the world right here, right?
Yes, yes, yes,
Like,
yes, I think so. And it's a good start.
it is, and you got to start somewhere, and I do think it is so. What you're talking about, that path to understanding,
Hmm.
is so critical. So,
Yeah, I really have found myself, once I understand where they're coming from, what their elemental personality is, and as I cover in my book, everything that matters to them, what they're good at, what they're bad at, what they like, what they don't like, their favorite colors, blah blah blah. They make sense. And how wonderful is it for someone to make sense?
yes, yes, and to be accepted as I make sense to them,
Who
instead of
they
judged,
are.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because that's really all any of us want.
right, right. Oh, I love this. Thank you so much. It's been so
Thank you. This has been
wonderful.
so fun. Really
Yeah.
enjoyed this.
Thank you. Me too. Me too. I'm going to thank everybody for listening and watching today's episode. And I hope that you come back for next week because we've got some juicy things coming up. All right. Take care, everybody. Thank you for watching this episode of Joyful Business TV. I want to invite you to get more creative strategies and support for growing your business. You can start right now by activating your abundance mindset with a really powerful creative visualization that will help you get into the universal abundance current, one of my favorite things to do. And you'll also get a companion 7-day journal that will help you create a daily habit of co-creating with the universe. These are 2 powerful resources that you can get started right now to help grow your business and activate that abundant mindset. You just go over to activateabundancegift.com.